appreciate you guys being here. I know there's a lot of other interesting talks going on that you could be taking in right now. So with that, I've got a treat in store. I'll introduce you to one of the least known, most interesting, and newest exploration companies in the business right now. And as he said, we're focused on gold and silver in northern Chile. Standard forward-looking statements. I will be making some forward-looking statements. I encourage you to read the slide. This is up on our website as well. But yeah, Northern Paleocene of Chile. Interesting new company, some old familiar faces in the business, highly accomplished individuals with very successful and notable careers. Flagship asset, Pampa Paciencia in northern Chile. This is a project that's a recent gold-silver discovery made in 2015, but capability of producing high-grade drill results, as we just released earlier this week on Monday, our first batch of 11 out of 29 drill holes. Still have assays pending on 18 drill holes. We have a team that's credited with multiple discoveries of epithermal systems and great operational expertise in our jurisdiction of exploration. We've demonstrated that we can do cost-efficient exploration in this area, which equates to more value created per investment dollar, and a very tight share structure and attractive valuation. I believe fundamentally that the most important thing of any company is the people. That's where the value stems from. And at Astra Exploration, we do have a pretty amazing team put together that's well-suited, uniquely well-suited for the task at hand. At the board level, we have a great team of technical expertise as well as very accomplished business professionals. I can't go through all of these in detail here, but I do encourage you to look through because it is an impressive team with some impressive experience and pedigrees, but heavily on the technical ability, but particularly with specific expertise towards these type of deposits that we're looking for, this low sulfidation epithermal system. And notably, Darcy Maruj is up here. He is one of my directors. He was involved with the discovery of the El Peñon deposit. That's 175 kilometers south of our flagship deposit. And we'll get into some of the particular points why that's important with what we're looking for here. At management level, our country manager, Roberto Bittner, on-ground presence based in Santiago. He's a lawyer by background. He's a landman. He's a business guy that's got a lot of connections. He knows how to navigate the system. He knows how to get stuff done. So very important to have on the ground. Mahesh Leonaj, he's our CFO. He's been in the business for several years as a CFO for junior exploration companies. He's worked in Chile. And Diego Guido is our head of exploration and a globally recognized epithermal expert, very quite versed in low sulfidation systems in particular, credited with discovering the Pingüino deposit in Santa Cruz, Argentina. And so a very strong team with the right skills for the task at hand. An important part of our value proposition is our capital structure. We did just list on the venture exchange in January of this year. We have 25 million shares outstanding, 27 million fully diluted, no warrants, $5.5 million market cap, and a good investment mix of ownership with management owning over 25%. Arena Minerals is the company we bought the property from, owning 23%, about 25% in a mix of some funds and some industry influencers, and then about 26% in retail. The Northern Paleocene of Chile, Chile is largely explored for copper, much less so for precious metals. Not because the opportunity isn't there, but simply because copper gets the focus. Chile's the world's largest copper producer, so that's where most of the investment dollars go. But there is a really unique opportunity here for these precious metal systems. In addition to that, this area is covered by a broad but relatively shallow post-mineralization sediment cover. So these things don't stand out at surface. There's not much to see. It's Atacama Desert and it's boulders. Pampa Paciencia is our flagship project, and the location is about 15 kilometers away from two major producing copper mines, Spence and Sierra Gorda. The nearest community, Calama, is less than an hour drive away, commercial airport. But the project really is in a fantastic location, both logistically and geologically. As I mentioned, Spence and Sierra Gorda. The Fertitta mine is past producing epithermal mine directly to the south. There's processing facilities there. But the entire project is serviced by great infrastructure. You've got well-maintained paved and gravel roads in the area. You can literally stand on the project and point one direction and say, there's the natural gas pipeline. Point over the other direction and say, there's the solar electrical power plant, green energy source, and point back behind you and say, there's the processing facility. So it really is in a great location from a logistical standpoint as well as geological standpoint. The ground around it is highly prospective based on what we've seen in our initial work, and so we are continuing to work to consolidate additional ground. I would note that there's two separate claim blocks or claim groups delineated here. This was the original property that we purchased, these two eastern blocks. We own an 80% interest in that, and Sokimich SQM is a major nitrate producer. They own the other 20%, and we are in the process right now of negotiating that purchase. The other claim block to the west, we staked that. It was open, so we own that 100%. The initial epithermal discovery was made in 2015, so it's a really recent discovery despite the fact that it's actually sitting on the back steps of an active mining district. A lot of the land's been tied up by major producers for several years, hasn't been available for exploration, but this was discovered when a major mining company was searching for copper. So they were doing drilling program on a wide spacing when they drilled this Paciencia North vein, and that was the discovery hole. They were focused on copper. They had another project that they were drilling on the heels of this, so they weren't prepared to do epithermal exploration, but they did drill a few holes in it. They followed it up with some trenching, and it produced some really interesting results. But at the end of the day, they proceeded on to drilling in the next copper project, and here this sat for several years in the portfolio of Arena Minerals, which is now lithium focused. So they had this legacy gold asset, which the opportunity came to us. But notably, there was two holes here, hole 7 and hole 6, produced some really interesting results. 3.75 meters of almost 8-gram gold, and 2 meters of about 8-gram gold in this one. And what we hypothesized from the beginning was these drill holes had drilled into the margin of these ore chutes. And low sulfidation systems, the gold isn't evenly disseminated through the vein. It often occurs in very discrete areas. So you can have high grade in one pocket area, and right beside that you can have nothing. But we hypothesized that they had drilled the edge of an ore chute and that there was enough space open along strike and to depth to expand these drill zones into larger bodies of mineralization. So this is a long section here of that discovery vein that I mentioned, and we initially thought that there was enough room here that we could probably define about 700 meters of vein strike with initial drill program. And this was completely open at depth. And so it looked like a really attractive opportunity to walk up and define some additional mineralization in the initial drill program. What we know about these systems is that you can get an idea of where you're at elevation-wise in the system based on some of the quartz texturing. Now, I'm not a geologist. I know just about enough to be dangerous. But these quartz textures can tell you where you're at in the system elevation, which is important because the precious metals tend to be deposited on a horizon that's got a pretty discrete area. So it's typically, rule of thumb, around 200 to 300 meters in the vertical is what you can expect from these horizons. But what we see in the quartz veins with this project is that most areas indicate that we're higher in the system, meaning that if there's precious metals, it should be preserved below surface. The main exception is in this main discovery area here. It appears that we're right at that mineralized horizon, so right where that horizon starts. We think that we might still be at the top of that, which would be ideal, meaning that mineralization starts at or near surface and extends down to depth. So what we did was we took a step back and we approached this from a higher level view and basically started from scratch on our exploration efforts. And that consisted of doing a magnetic survey right off the bat, and then doing a property-wide mapping and sampling program, and then following that up with some trenching and doing all of this to produce some drill targets that were high quality. what we found every step of the way is that results continued to be encouraging with every bit of exploration that we did. When we acquired this project, there was 2 areas that were known mineralization in the north zone and the central zone. There had been some drilling here and trenching here. There had been some trenches here, but no drilling. And so what the guys did was they focused on mapping these float samples. There's basically boulders, and they're parts of decomposed vein. And so they focused on finding vein floats that were larger than 25 centimeters in size. And then they marked those with GPS waypoint and then randomly sampled some of those. And the reason they focused on these large boulders was because they tend to stay closer to their source. This is a relatively flat area with some low relief hills, as you can see in this inset picture here. And what came back from this was pretty impressive. There's several samples property-wide that came back with gold and silver mineralization. Notably, the mineralization tended to occur in corridors that had a northwest-southeast orientation, which is notable because the model that we use is based on the information that's available from the past-producing Faride deposit directly to the south. And so that gives us an idea of what we can expect for local structures which tend to have a northwest-southeast orientation on these main structures. So this is zooming into the north zone here, and this is the main Paciencia vein structure. And we've divided this up into 3 discrete sections of the vein. The 11 holes that we just released on Monday were drilled from this main section here. And the short of that is that they did come back with some mineralization, but particularly in the eastern margin of this vein here, we drilled into some high-grade gold. What's notable about this system in particular is some of the widths of the veins. This main vein area here at surface averages about 25 meters in thickness, and in areas up to 50 meters in thickness. And this western portion of the vein here, Paciencia West, we drilled continuity of this vein here, and it was about 15 meters width, and these are true widths for the structure. And then Paciencia East down here was about 10 to 15 meters, I think. So, like I said, we initially expected we could drill probably 700 meters of strike length, but after the drill program, we had definitively defined at least 1,000 meters of strike length. And then Diego put in 2 holes up here. This first one here was on a magnetic low feature, and the magnetics, this blue feature represents a mag low, and they're interpreted veins. And the magnetic lows occur when veins are formed. It destroys the magnetic signature. So based on the model we were using from the Faride deposit, these east-west structures tend to intersect with these prominent northwest structures. So we drilled a hole here, and we hit about a 5-meter vein. It was a blind target, and we drilled a vein. Based on the model then, Diego decided to come over here and drill this hole, which was along strike with this feature. It was also directly along strike with Paciencia West. It was on a mag low, and it was also coincident with the high-grade float sample at surface. And in that hole, we drilled a 30-meter vein structure. So we had some really good results technically at the drill bit on the first program. We drilled 30 holes. We intersected 29, and 29 of 30 holes, we intersected epithermal vein in each of those. Zooming in a bit further, this is the main vein structure here, 400 meters in length. Again, noting the width. The higher grade ore chute is on the eastern margin, and it also looks like the vein continues to improve at depth. The mineralizing features of the vein continues to improve. So what carries the grade here is the quartz vein, and there's other features in the vein structure. There's breccias, there's other types of structures here that tend to dilute grade, but importantly, it looks like the main vein feature continues to get wider and is well mineralized at depth. This is a long section that is of that previous, from the previous slide. This is if you were looking at it from the side. But these are some of our drill results that were quite notable in the first 11 holes that we released, particularly hole 12, or with the eastern margin. We intersected, these are gold equivalent values here, so gold and silver included, but we drilled 21 meters of almost 3 gram gold equivalent, and that included 3 meters of almost 15 grams gold. So really nice result, gives us the demonstrates that the system can produce higher grade gold yet. And then some of the other intervals here were lower grade, but notice the width of the intervals: 22 meters at over 1.5 grams, 17 meters over 1.5 grams, 21 meters at 0.5 gram, 27 meters at 0.5 gram, and 13 meters about 0.6. So what's interesting with this is that there are wide intervals that are mineralized even at lower values. But what we're seeing here is that we have this ore shoot that we're starting to define that is open to the east. It's open down below along to depth along strike. And with these types of systems, again, the ore shoots can be irregular. You can be into high grade 1 minute, you can be out of it the next minute. But there's no reason that this can't be mineralized down here with higher grades. And notably, Diego sees that the quartz texturing over on this end of the vein indicates that we are lower in the system and closer to the mineralized horizon, and the quartz texturing on this side of the vein indicates that we're higher in the system. So what this tells us right now is that in this area in particular, the best targets are probably at depth and along strike. So I use the El Peñon mine as an analog for some important reasons. It's got a lot of similarities to Pampa Paciencia. They're both hosted in the Paleocene belt. They're approximately the same age date. They have similar mineralization styles. But of course, we also have some intimate knowledge of that deposit from Darcy's experience there throughout the years. And so he's seen that from discovery through development and into production. But to get an idea of the scale of these, El Peñon is a world-class deposit. Total known endowment's almost 8 million ounces of gold and over 216 million ounces of silver. And as I mentioned, Atacama Desert, there's not much to see. The story goes with discovery of this, the same similarities: Atacama Desert boulders, no outcropping at surface. There's very little evidence of these epithermal systems. This is an interesting slide I think is quite important. It shows the evolution of El Peñon over the years. These are the veins that were discovered, color-coded and coinciding with the years in which they were added to the resource. I think it conveys two main important points. One is the importance of, when you find an epithermal vein system like this, the importance of following up the exploration on each one of these structures. But also that these things aren't necessarily, it's not a one and done type thing. They develop over time. They do take patience and persistence. But when you get into a resource like this, it really does have some incredible endowment potential. Notably, I would say that with the drill program that we just completed, I mentioned that we've demonstrated that we can do cost-effective exploration. We did a 3,000 meter drill program, and it cost us all in about 650,000 Canadian. So that's assays and all. So it was really good bang for buck. We got a lot of good information from it, and we got some good results, good grades on top of that. We do have another project in the portfolio I'll touch on briefly. It's called Cerro Bayo. This is in the Maricunga, which is a very discrete belt in northern Chile. Its metal endowment is quite impressive. There's very few places in the world that have this kind of metal endowment. But this Maricunga belt hosts in various deposits a total of, give or take, 100 million ounces of gold plus or minus, gold equivalent ounces plus or minus. And so we acquired this project. It is a really neat project that we like. It's a great target, both porphyry and high sulfidation epithermal gold target. We acquired this project because of who the team was, who the network was, but we picked this up for holding costs and a viable royalty. And it's got some great potential. We picked it up as kind of a backup project in case we had to have a rethink at Pampa Paciencia or things didn't work out. But I think from the results that we're seeing at Pampa Paciencia, I think that that's where our sole focus is going to be going forward. So we are looking at avenues to create value with this project here. And notably, in the early days, we were approached by a major gold mining company that they expressed interest in Pampa Paciencia, wanted to know if we wanted to do a deal on that. We told them we were advancing that on our own, but they should have a look at Cerro Bayo. So they did. They liked it. They came down and saw the end of the drill program here at Pampa Paciencia as well. But they've expressed interest in potentially doing a JV on that, and ongoing discussions about a broader transaction structure that might may include, like a strategic investment, JV agreement, and potentially a working technical relationship going forward. So I think a big vote of confidence from a major mining company, and this is a tier 1 producer, it's not a small company, but I think both teams could stand to learn a lot from one another. So that is the company in a nutshell. The million-dollar question is, why Astra Exploration as an investment opportunity? And I do think that we have a really neat story. It's very early in its beginning and its inception, and I'll stick to the promises that I can keep. And the things I can say is that Pampa Paciencia is an interesting project that has continued to produce good results with every marginal exploration work that we've done on it. It's got wide veins. It's shown potential to create high grade. It's got a lot of room for expansion with additional vein structures. So it really is an attractive project. And without doubt, we certainly have what is very much a uniquely qualified and capable team to advance this asset and turn it into something marketable should there be an economic deposit there. 18 of 29 drill holes, assays still pending, so we expect to have those by the end of the month. Potentially near-term catalyst for share price appreciation. And again, the location, the existing infrastructure, if there is an economic discovery there, that all translates into higher ROI for investors for Astra. So really is an interesting story, and I'd open it up to questions if you have any.
Any questions for Astra, Brian?
Pardon?
Where did Cerro Lido come from? Who's the predecessor company?
A company called Don Mario, and it's controlled by Roberto Bittner, who is also our land manager, our country manager.
Before that, was it like Atacama Pacific or
I think that there's several projects with the name Cerro Bio, and I don't know if that's a regional reference, but I don't know if maybe we're talking about different projects.
I guess, my question is, in one of your earlier slides, did it say that when you listed, you raised $2.2 million, and now your cash balance is $350?
Correct.
So, I guess, where has the cash been used, and how quickly do you need to raise again?
Yeah, we'll be doing a financing before our next drill program, which we're expecting roughly, we're targeting July of this year. But we raised $2.2 million as a private company. We went through the listing process, getting listed on the exchange, and then we were continuing to do exploration work the entire time. So it was coming in, it was going out at the same time. And as soon as we get the next drill results out here, then we'll do another raise and proceed forward.
And I guess, the Chile question, which is, how is access to the site? How is access to the location? What do you need? What do you use to get there? And then what is the water?
Water is always an issue in Chile, but there are, obviously water rights in the area with Sierra Gorda and Spence. We are looking into if there's existing water rights in the Feride area as well, but that's also owned by KGHM, Sierra Gorda. Access-wise, the access is terrific. It's, like I said, less than an hour drive from Calama. There's a commercial airport there, and it's not too far from Antofagasta. And it's well-maintained paved roads and gravel roads at the project. No, that's all right. It's a good point to emphasize. It's a good one.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.